Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hi, welcome to another edition of the Long Range Corner. Should be coming here through into the actual feed pretty soon. There we go. And you're probably going to hear an echo. Weird. Okay, I'll kill that. So how you guys doing tonight? Just waiting for people to show up. Anyone out there? Just nod if you can hear me. Is there anyone home? Yeah, I'm not going to sing for you guys. That'd be bad. So I've got a couple topics that I wanted to talk about tonight. I wanted to talk about a little bit about my favorite pilots, some of the long-range guys that really inspire me, some of the pilots that really inspire me, actually. Talk about a little bit about the evolution of quads, how I see them evolving, and what I see interesting, and how that's a little bit seems to be repeating itself. And then also talk a little bit about some of the news of the day, some of the new products that have come out that I think are pretty interesting. And then, good. Hello, Canada. And yeah, then take any questions that you've got and see if I can answer them. Right, so let's start in on this. Got a couple people that really inspire me right now. One of them is FPV Provo. He's an old school pilot out in Provo, Utah. And he's cohort Bryce Prestwich. I think Bryce is more active on Instagram, and his feed is Skyberries FPV. Go check him out right now because he's awesome pilot, awesome content. Does some really cool long range stuff out in Utah. It's gorgeous. So check him out. Yeah, FPV Provo he's also quite active on Instagram, but he is pretty active on, or was pretty active on his YouTube a while back. Not so much anymore. Maybe you've heard of the term Provo tap. He originated the idea of tapping a quad against some object, like bouncing off of it, which is a pretty cool trick, and one I want to actually try at some point. If I ever get the balls up to do it. I need to find a place that's close and that I can retrieve the quad easily. Practice. Let's see. Who else? There's a couple wing pilots that actually inspire me as well. Gui 86. That's GUI 86. He's a killer wing pilot from France, I believe, and he's more active on Vimeo. So go check him out as well. It's amazing stuff. Him and Provo Troll as well. Provo Troll is in with that crowd with Gui, and he's got some other pilots that he flies with a lot. So go check them out. They're excellent wind pilots, flying the Alps, and it's gorgeous. It's just really gorgeous. So go check that out. Oh, hey Nurk. Is at a party, so I can't listen, but hi and bye. Yeah, nice to have you. Nice for you to stop by. Nurk, well, as well, he's pretty cool. He's a good guy. Like your California stuff, Nurk. So I know you can't hear me. So yeah, those are the pilots that really inspire me. Those are the guys that I find exciting right now. The other one is Obsidian FPV. That's Mike Virgin. He's active on YouTube and Facebook a lot in the Long Range Hooligans group, and he does some pretty cool stuff too. Pretty, I'd say mid to long range stuff. He runs a 5S rig using the Multicopter Builders Epic I'm not sure which Epic it is, 262 perhaps, and on 5S. So he does some pretty cool stuff as well. So yeah, these are the guys that are inspiring me now. Gotta say that I haven't been active this past week. It's the finals term, or it's a finals time, end of semester, end of year, and at the university. So I'm busily trying to get caught up with all the crap I have to do, and there's a lot of crap. Hey, Peter's here. Hey, Peter. Didn't you change the name of your channel? I thought it was you went by went to Peter. Now you're back at Flux. Yeah, Flux FPV is pretty cool too. He's an excellent pilot. Does some. He needs to do more long range stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I've been pretty busy at school. Just trying to get that all. Trying to get everything sorted out so my students don't kill me or give me bad evaluations this term. So yeah, that's what I've been doing this past week. We actually had a day off yesterday, and I spent it working on my cars. The Jeep has accumulated a ton of kilometers since I last gave it a service, so I had to do that. And I've got another car that I'm working on. So yeah. Excellent. Humboldt, excellent. I can't wait to see that. Humboldt flew an epic 2-mile ridgeline this evening. I can't wait to see that. Golden hour, I hope. Yeah, you guys are studying for exams. Sorry, guys, but I'm on the other end. I have to actually grade the exams, so I feel your pain. Yeah, so yeah, those are the pilots that are inspiring me these days. There's some excellent long-range stuff coming out. So, yeah. I've got a nice Chilean beer here. This is a Calafate Ale. So Calafate is a berry that grows in Patagonia, and they infuse that into the beer, and it's really good. It's Austral Brewery, and it's called Calafate Ale. Good stuff. Yeah, so those are the pilots. Hey, good evening. Good evening, Green Patches. Yeah, so let's talk about the evolution of the hobby. So I think this is kind of interesting. For a long time, the hobby was shrinking. If you're old school, you know probably Juice. He started off on the 8-inch, the Luminaire 400 series, the QAV 400. And that ran 8-inch props. So that's interesting because it's a dirty clean frame. So it's got a part that's below, that's the dirty frame. That's where all the motors and ESCs sit. And then you've got the clean frame up above, which sits on little rubber bobbins. And that kind of, you stick the battery in there, and the mass dampens the vibrations of the cameras. So I think that's kind of interesting, and I kind of have a feeling that the hobby will probably be going back in that direction soon. You're starting to see a lot of guys with 7-inch, 8-inch, 9-inch rigs, and they're having a lot of problems with jello and a lot of problems with vibrations. So, and the modern flight controllers aren't very well suited for those big props. They tend to pick up the vibrations, and they tend to amplify them. That's my feeling, just based on what's been going on with my own quads and my own attempts at doing larger long range rigs. I've got a nice big quad here, as you can see. This is the bottom half of a QAV 540. That I've tried to convert into a long-range rig. It runs 12-inch props at the moment. These are APC 12-inch props and Luminaire 740 kV motors. So this I tried to run with KISS a while back, and I never was able to get a decent tune for that. So it's one of those things that's kind of bugging me. I'd like to see longer range rigs. I'd like to see really long range flying, but you know, it's hard. It's hard to get good video out of that. So I'm actually considering putting back the top plate and trying to do some long range flying with that and see if I can get some good video out of it. But yeah, that's I think the clean frame, the dirty clean idea is going to come back into the hobby. At least I expect it to. I don't know. There are some other interesting designs that I'd like to see. For example, Flying Cinema. I was sponsored by them for a while, disclaimer. But I had a Tankito 30, which is a 300 size quad, 6-inch props. And that was interesting because it didn't have so much a clean, dirty frame. It had basically the GoPro, the front-mounted GoPro. That's the old school GoPros, the Hero 3s. It actually had that mounted on vibration damping bobbins, so it was just the camera that was mounted there in the clean section, and that produced some really clean footage. So I'd like to actually explore that concept a little bit more and maybe make some longer arms for it, some 7-inch arms or 8-inch arms, and see what I could get out of a quad like that. See if I could get some decent footage with some decent range. The problem with that is it's large. Well, not large, but it's heavy. That's the real problem. Heaviness is the antithesis of doing really long range. So pick your poison. Cinetank was fun, yeah. Cinetank, well, as you can see, you've still got my Cinetank back there. I actually really liked flying that. I need to get that out and dust it off and tuned and take it for some longer range missions. That's kind of nice because it's got the Pixhawk on it, so it's got return to launch, which is kind of important. Yeah. So this is what I see. I see the long range coming back. I see larger quads coming back. I'm expecting some innovation in motors here pretty soon. I'd like to see some bigger motors with stronger magnets, maybe more efficient. That would be nice to see. Yeah. So that's that. That's my history repeating. Of course, the hobby is evolving towards the small end as well, with the tiny whoops and the brushless mini quads, the 2-inch and 3-inch setups. I still have it yet to build one of those. I don't really have a place that I could really use it. So, and long range is long range. Long range is more exciting to me. So, yeah, and news. I just got in these antennas. This is finally, it took me 3 attempts to get these, and I actually got two of them sent. Or, yeah, I had to send my order 3 times, and of the 3 orders, I've got 2. So I've got actually extra antennas. But these are the singularities, the true RC singularities. These are 2.4 gigahertz antennas, so which is pretty amazing. If you compare the size of that, that's a 5.8. The black one is a 5.8, and the white one is 2.4 gigahertz. So it's nice to see that you can stick 2.4 gigahertz on your quad and still have it small and protected. I'm looking forward to doing some more flying with this. I've did a little bit of flying last week, 2 weeks ago, more or less, with one of these on my goggles, and it worked well. But we need to stick one on the quad and see how well it works. Yes, True RC is awesome. Hey Jitan, nice to see you. Good flights. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what I do with the Drac as well. I need to get my butt moving on that. I just got today one of the last bits of the puzzle. This is, don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. Get that. That is OSD. Yeah, you can actually see that pretty well. Okay. So that's a little OSD that I got off Hobby King. I think it's the, let me see here. Don't have my goggles or my glasses. Micro OSD version 1.1 that I got off of Hobby King. And I like it. It's pretty small. It plugs right into the micro APM. Somewhere I've got instructions for it. And that's going to be my OSD for the mini rack. And that was one of the last pieces of the puzzle that I was waiting for. So now I'm actually going to start getting moving on it. And yeah, here's the little instruction sheet. So we'll see how well that works. It should plug right into my Pixfalcon. That's the idea. Yeah, and let's see, news. Other news, the TBS has just come out with a new 915 megahertz antenna for the Crossfire. That's looking at what Alex Greaves has said. It's slightly directional, but it's supposedly better for low flying, for ground plane flying. So hopefully I'll be getting one of those in the near future and doing some tests and seeing how it does. I do know I do have some problems with the link quality. I've noticed that, for example, when I sit with my my transmitter on my lap with it more or less pointed down, I don't really get really good reception. Once I move the transmitter up a little bit, I get better reception. So that may be related to that. We'll see. So part of it's bad habits of mine. I tend to sit crunched up with the transmitter kind of pointing down, and I really need to stand up with the transmitter pointing up. But when you're flying 14 minutes at a time, standing up for 14 minutes, trying to maintain your balance while flying like what isn't so easy. Tidy room. No, it's not tidy. It's completely not tidy. TBS Core Pro and the mini rack, yeah, that could be. I thought about that, but I decided instead I wanted to do something with a little bit more autonomy, so I can really get out there, do some longer range stuff without fear of losing it, really. So, and then I'm a little bit worried about wind in the mountains. I know there's a lot of wind there, so I'd like to have something that maybe can correct that. And since I'm new to wings, I like safety. I like to have a little bit of safety. Hey Hazard, how you doing? Mini Vector, that's another idea. I've thought about that, but I had the Pixfalcon here, so I just decided, yeah, I'm going to throw that in there. Previously, it was on the QAV 540, so it's now in my mini rack. Yeah, so that's basically the news of the day, or the news that I have. Questions for me? Any questions you guys got? Yeah, wind gets up more than 30 kilometers an hour in the mountains. I don't know if you checked out my last video with the climb up to Volcán Campanario, but it was easily past 30 kilometers an hour, probably 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. So it pretty decent wind there. Maybe not that bad. Yeah, maybe around 30 kilometers an hour, somewhere around there. But it does get pretty windy up in the mountains. So Team Legit 40, yeah. Yeah, I think the micro vector, those are interesting solutions. I really want to check that out at some point. I know Pixhawk. I've used that quite a bit. And like I said, it's what I've got. It's what I had lying around, so that's what's going in it. My mini rack is still sitting there over there waiting. I got the side feed 2.4 gigahertz antenna there. I've got, I think I need to throw a 2.4 gigahertz video transmitter in there. I need to find one. I think I have one around, but probably use a Immersion RC video transmitter for that. 2.4 gigahertz, of course. That's a 800 milliwatt that I'll probably use there, or 700 milliwatt. I don't know. I don't remember which one it is. The green one. So yeah, that I hope to complete in the next few weeks. With school, it's hard. What can I say? Real life interfering with my drone life. That's not ideal. What else? Yeah, I got some new props. HQ 6x3x3s that I just got in to test. These I threw on my X24 with T-Motor F80s, the 2200 kV T-Motor F80s, and they actually did pretty good. I was pretty pleased with how they performed. The amp draw was definitely less than the 6x4.5s. The 6.4x4.5s would get up to 140 amps at times, which is insane, really. These I never saw more than 100 amps. So the amp draw lessened quite a bit, but the response and how it flew was similar. So I'll be trying those out in the future to see how well they do, and see if I can lower the amp draw a little bit, and we'll see how they perform in the mountains. Yeah, that's my problem with the big wings, is they're big. I like the Mini Drac has some larger wings for it that I've been thinking about, but yeah, of course, I should fly what I have first before I buy something. Would you set up a base station in farmer fields? Yeah, depends on where it is. If there's nobody around, then yeah. Typically, I look for places when I fly. I look for places that don't have anybody near them. Yeah, sometimes I make a mistake. When I was down in Patagonia doing my tour, I stopped with one place. It had a really nice tree and a couple, just a little bit of long range that I could do. So stopped there and did some tuning and flew probably about 3 or 4 batteries there, maybe 5 batteries. Taking my time because I was tuning as I was going. And as I was packing up to leave, I see this farmer walking down the road. This guy walking down the road with dogs following him. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I continue packing up. I get into my car, and the guy walks up and stops right outside my window. So I was like, what the heck? So roll down the window, see? He says to me, vaya, ahora. Like, go now. I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving. Thanks, guy. So yeah, so evidently he had a house not too far away and was annoyed by the noise. That's the only thing I can assume. But yeah, so when I try to fly, I try to avoid people. I just don't like flying around people, especially when I'm on my own. Even if I'm not on my own, I don't like flying around people. It's just not my style. So KV versus high altitude, not yet. And master air screws, no master air screws either. I haven't made a prop purchase apart from the 6x3x3s in quite a while. I've been slacking on that, using my money for other things like fixing cars. So yeah, high KV, I think that's going to be interesting, especially with really high altitude. When I was going to the Atacama, I actually have a goal of summiting the highest mountain here in Chile, which is a little under 7,000 meters, so 6,900 meters. And there's a base camp there that is around 5,000 meters. And if if I remember correctly, I did the calculations. It's about 5.2 kilometers horizontal distance and about 2 kilometers vertical distance that I have to cover. And what I was really worried about with my TBS G2 was it going to be efficient enough to actually do that at that high of an altitude. So I had the 7.7 by 4.5 props, the HQs that I was going to use for that, and I also I didn't end up taking them with me, and when I went, the G2 wasn't performing correctly, so that was a little bit disappointing. But I was going to use my old school Cobras that I've got. Oh, no, those are the wrong ones. Somewhere around here I have okay, no I don't. Yeah, there they are. So I'm going to take these with me as well. These are my old school Cobra 1960 kV 2205 motors that I was going to take with me to actually try to get a little bit more kV and a little bit more prop speed when I was up in the mountains, when I was up there. So I was thinking that the higher kV with 7-inch props would probably get me enough distance, enough run time to get up there and back. So yeah. Sort out the issue with my run cam split? No, I haven't. I really haven't. I really haven't checked that. I did hear from somebody in the RunCam channel that said that maybe it was due to cable. I talked to RunCam. They said sent an email to the RunCam support. So I just haven't taken the time to follow up on that. I need to do that. I've got the extra cable here, so I'm going to try that and see if that solves the issue. If that does solve the issue, then we're good. If not, then it's going back to RunCam, and I'm getting a RunCam split too. Diversity VTX, probably you mean Diversity RX. Long range, I'm not sure. Clearview, a lot of people swear by it. Gab707 uses Clearview, and it works for him. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure which is the best for Diversity RX. You're really looking for sensitivity when you're doing a long range. So I like Diversity because I can use different antennas. I can use, for example, an Omni to fly around with me and a patch to get, or a directional to get farther away. So I like having a little bit of flexibility. If you're just flying in one direction, then probably Clearview would probably do the trick just fine. But if you're doing like what I said, having a little bit more flexibility, then you're probably going to want a Diversity receiver, because if I understand correctly, Clearview kind of averages the signals between the two antennas to some digital magic there to clean up the image. And I'm not sure how well that would work. I'm not sure how well that would work for long range and Omni, having two antennas that are completely distinct there. So it depends on what you want, really. The Duo 5800 that I have is kind of past its prime. It was never very good to begin with. It's got, I think its sensitivity was about 88 decibels, minus 88 decibels, which isn't that sensitive compared to modern receivers. And then I had to modify it because it broke. I had to repair it, really. And yeah, the repair didn't work very well. So I got out to about 4 kilometers with my 13 decibel patch, 13 dBi patch, and video cut up. So yeah, that's going in the trash. I'm probably going to get a new receiver. I'm not sure which one I'm going to get. I might stick with the Duo line. I might. I'm not sure. And then I'm going to get another module for my goggles. I'm probably going to get the Furious module for my goggles because that looks pretty decent. It's true diversity. Right now I have the Fat Shark antenna diversity module, which works, but not that great. Still using 5.8 or 2.4 gigahertz for long range. I'd like to use 2.4. I'd really like to use 2.4. Unfortunately, on the G2, which is my longest range quad to date, there's not really space for it. So I'm using the FP Vision because it's the solution. It works. It got out to 5 kilometers. If I can't get out much past 5 kilometers, then I'll start looking at solutions for 2.4, how to get that, how to transform it back into a 2.4 machine. Yeah, so 2.4 definitely is the way to go. Longer range, more flexibility. PIDs change in the thin air. That's a good question. They should change in the thin air. Probably not that much. I don't think PIDs would change that much. Maybe lower D. Because really what you're doing there, the PID is there to correct things, correct angles for in the quad. So if you're commanding this angle and the wind blows you, it should kind of move you. Or if you flying level and command it to go at a 45-degree angle, it needs to change the attitude quite quickly and just stay at that attitude. And the P kind of is the error between what you command and what the quad is doing at the moment. I is for counteracting long-term effects or strong wind, things like that. And D is for those abrupt changes. So that's basic explanation of PIDs. The thin air is probably not going to affect the response, or shouldn't affect the response too much. The D probably is going to change. That's what I would imagine. If you move up in kV, probably the amount of available thrust is going to be similar, so it should be around the same. Once again, don't really know. That's something I've got to experiment with. Difference between where I'm at now, which is my house, is about 200 meters above sea level, and where I fly in the mountains, between 1,800 and 2,000 meters above sea level. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but I don't find that it makes too much difference. Good evening. What am I drinking? I am drinking a Calafate Ale. That's Austral Brewery here in Chile. Produces an ale which uses the Calafate berries. They grow in Patagonia. Austral is a Patagonian company, and it's good. Kind of sweet, but not too sweet. I don't like my beers too sweet. Hello, Nashin. Hope you're not working today. Hope you managed to get out and do some flying today. Horizon versus Acro efficiency test. Acro's going to win. Very simple. Horizon, you're always fighting. You're always... the quad is trying to correct when you let off the sticks. So Acro definitely going to be the way to go. Tasmania. Wow. Damn, that's a ways away. Chile has the most lithium in the world. Yes, it does. And it doesn't do anything with it. It exports it all to China, like it's copper. One of the great tragedies of Chile, it's got immense mineral wealth, but it doesn't do the value added very well. It just basically ends up being a mineral exporter. It's starting to get better in terms of agriculture. A lot of wines are produced here in Chile, and well, it's quite well known as a wine producing country. So it's doing well in the agriculture in terms of doing some value added products, but in terms of resources, not very much. What is my favorite camera? What? You lost your... How did you lose your GoPro? Oh, Nasheen. What is my favorite camera? In terms of FPV camera or in terms of recording camera? In terms of recording camera, I like the Session 5. The Session 5 works. It's small. It does the job. It's got enough options. Right now I'm running in 1440p at 60 frames per second. That's the 4:3 aspect ratio, and then I cut it down and I just crop the top and bottom, and I really like how that looks. The everyone gets high video. I used that, and I think that does the job fine. ND filter, yeah. Flux has a nice video with the ND filter that shows off how well it works. What's the video, Flux? ND number just depends on the day. If it's really bright day, you probably want a higher ND filter. Don't ask me which one, because I just don't know. Size of battery versus prop size. Depends on what the weight of your frame is. For example, I used to run 4,000 to, well, 2,200 to 4,000 milliamp hour battery on a 6-inch quad, and that weighed 750 grams. I now run a 5,000 milliamp hour battery on the G2, and that weighs 750 grams. So if you lower the weight of the frame, you can run more battery, typically. So you're not... The efficiency, they say you get the greatest efficiency when you're about half the weight of your frame, the weight of the frame is more or less equal to the weight of the battery. I'm a little bit over that. I run the 5,000 milliamp hour battery that weighs 430 grams. The Zippy that weighs 430 grams, and the quad itself weighs about 300 grams, somewhere around there. So 305 grams, I think. So I'm a little bit over that curve, but it gives me good flight time. As you saw up in the mountains, I was able to get 10 minutes without a problem, and I still had probably another 5 to 8 minutes of flight time remaining on the battery. Favorite time of day to film, morning or evening? When I can actually get to the mountains. One of the problems that I have, I'm jealous of Bryce. I'm jealous of the guys that have the mountains right next to them. I actually have to drive about 3 hours to get to the mountains. And yeah, maybe not 3 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours to get to the mountains, 3 hours to get to the border. So yeah, and I don't get up there very early. I got up there once during mid-April, when it was getting light around 9 o'clock, and I got some really good footage. So morning's nice, evening's nice. Yeah, 40 minutes. Yeah, jealous. Very, very much jealous. Yes, VTX is always set to 800 milliwatts when I'm flying in the mountains or not. I typically don't fly around people. When I've got my friends with me, we usually fly one at a time. So there's not really any issue of interference. So 800 milliwatts, just leave it there. GoPro mod to power directly from the PDB. If it's a GoPro, for example, like this, probably worth it. If it's a GoPro session, ripping it apart just to rip out the batteries, actually that's an idea. I've got actually a GoPro session that I killed. It fell off my Jeep at some point and got ran over, and found it later, amazingly. But one of the lithium batteries burst, so I may try to mod that and see if I can get see if it works. If I can recover it, hey, it's best. Yeah, Runcamp Split I like because it's lightweight. I'll probably build other long-range rigs with using the Runcamp Split. I like the idea of saving weight on long-range rigs. Connect the goggles to ground station and independent. Depends. If I'm just doing like short range, medium range stuff, I'll just do independent. If I'm doing long range stuff, then I like the ground station. The trip to Volcan Campanario, I actually flew with the goggles, and I ended up with a massive pain in my neck because I was kind of tilting my head, trying to get the antenna pointed to the mountain, and it was uncomfortable. So I like having a ground station for that. That's really nice. You can just point the ground station, and then, yeah, it's easy. Have I conquered the Andes Mountains? Yeah, of course. Not all of them, no, obviously not. There's some big peaks. The 4,000 meter peak that I hit was the highest that I've hit. It's not the highest I've flown. I've flown about 4,200 meters in the north. We actually took off from 4,000 meters, somewhere around there. And I'd like to get to the highest mountain, which is 7,000 meters here. Like any other frames for 6 to 8 inch other than the G2? Well, 6 inch, I like my X24. I like that. Alien has a good 6 inch. I've used that. They've got some longer arms. I'm actually doing a little bit of, yeah, I can't say too much about that because I don't think they've released it yet. But yeah, I've got some special goodness from Impulse RC that I'm testing in the back, some longer arms. So when I use the ground station, are you using the monitor? No, monitor is, I'm using goggles. It's connected straight to the goggles. Right, wow, time has flown. We're now 43 minutes into this. But I haven't finished my beer yet, so keep asking me questions, guys. Particular speed for distance? No. Basically, all you see is me winging it. Estimating from the milliamp hours consumed and the distance that I've traveled, how long I can go, and, you know, trying to keep it more or less intact. It's kind of disingenuous, or kind of not a good idea to use speed to try to get distance, because you have to factor in headwinds, and that's not easy. Watts per hour or milliamp, or watts per kilometer would be good, or milliamp hours per kilometer would be good, because that will kind of give you an idea of if you can reach where you want to go. But once again, headwind. If you're going into the headwind, your milliamp hours per kilometer is going to be lower than if you're coming back with a tailwind. So you just have to build up that experience, the knowledge of what the battery is like, if the battery is performing to its best, or if there's something wrong with the battery. If you're using too much battery and you're not going to make it, you need to know that. You need to have an idea. Yeah, okay, time to turn around. Have I ever lost a quad due to user error? Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have. More times than I'd care to admit. How much LiPo testing have I done? Size, brands, C rating? Not much. Basically, I'm limited to what I can get in Chile in terms of batteries, and pretty much there are some places that ship, but they're very few. I think Rev Electronics, Nashin or Chaska has bought from them. The Hobby King is another source of batteries. So I typically get the graphene batteries from Hobby King and use those, or the Zippy for the larger stuff, because they're relatively cheap and they ship. They ship from the European warehouse to Chile. So have I found a good way to minimize jello in post? No, it's hard to do that. Basically, the pixels move in relation to each other in Jello, so you don't really have a good linear relationship to what's happening between the different frames. I suppose if you were doing some advanced image processing, you could probably do something like that. That may be a good actually, that may be a good undergrad thesis. I'm going to have to propose that to my students. But yeah, if you do some feature detection, maybe you could do a nonlinear map between frames to kind of clean that up. But it's hard. It's going to be a hard problem. Yeah, remove jello in flight is the best way to do it. Looking at calculating wattage per flight for flying, how do you determine the average amperage for the equation? Ballpark estimate from, yeah, basically a ballpark estimate from what I see on the screen. I look at amps that I've been using, and I look at how much milliamp hours I've used and how much kilometers I've flown. And from that, I can basically judge, yeah, I'm going to make it, or yeah, no, bail, time to abort. Yeah, I have seen, actually, way back 2015, I was looking at the lithium ion batteries for large quads. I believe it was, see if I can remember his name. No, one of the early guys in the FPV scene. He actually had a lithium ion powered rig that could hover for 2 hours. So the secret there is really low amp draw, and to get really low amp draw, you really need large props. You need a large frame and large props, and that's not going to work very well in the mountains. Basically, with the large props, you've got a larger disc area, and that's basically how the quad presents to the wind. So if you've got a lot of wind and a large disc area, your quad is going to be more affected than if you've got a smaller disc area. I just don't see it viable for what I want to do. If I wanted to do something long range here, yeah, it probably would be. I don't know if you'd notice, but if you look at the amp draw on the way up to Campanario, I was looking at 20 amps, so it's quite high relatively speaking. Bryce Prestwich has actually done some work with that. He's actually got a quad that will do 28 minutes, a 7-inch that'll do 28 minutes on using the DJI Snail system. So there's their own motors and own props. And so it does pretty well. Tesla Model S lithium-ion cells. Could be. Where's my mini Drac? Everybody wants to know where my mini Drac is. It's sitting right over there. I'm not going to get it, but... What kind of mounting do you use on your FC motors? FC, I use these. I'm not sure if you can see them. Let me get them. They're the anti-vibration mounts from TBS. Yeah, there we go. So these are the anti-vibration mounts from TBS. I use those for mounting the FC. On my G2, I actually have that and the session, or sorry, not the session, the split mounted using those. So basically everything above the FP Vision uses those as the mount. That works. Motors, hard mount. I'm simple. More 5.5 or 6.5 inch props. 6.5 inch would be interesting. More props, the better. More limits, the better. Yeah. Somebody asked me about this the other day. How can I use KISS CC when the amp rating on it is 16 amps and the OSD is showing 1920 amps? Basically, that's per ESC, so 16 amps per ESC, whereas on the OSD, it's showing the aggregate. So 20 amps, you're looking at 5 amps per motor. That's the secret. Hello, Polly. How are you doing? So motor mounts, no. Soft motor mounts, don't do it. Basically, don't. I've never really tried it and not sure it's going to make too much of a difference. Maybe worth a try, but other people have tried it and really haven't seen too much benefit to it. So prop balancing, 7-inch, no. I've actually found that the 7-inch HQs are pretty much well balanced out of the box in both axes. I don't know if you know this, but let's see if I got a prop around here yet. So that's not a good example because it's actually broken. But so when you're balancing props, you should actually balance them horizontally, because that's going to balance the not really sure how to describe that. It's going to balance the actual prop itself, and then you should balance them vertically and add CA or something, take off material to balance the hub. And that's really important. A lot of people kind of skip the hub balancing. But what I've found is that the HQs are pretty good in terms of balance on both. So whatever's causing the vibrations on 7.5 or on the 7 by 4.5 props is not a balance issue. I mean, they're a little bit off. They're not perfect, but they're not horribly bad either. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 6-inch I typically don't balance because, yeah. And 5-inch, no, never. 5-inch is just, they're disposable. They work. Once you get down into 4-inch, the vibrations get so high frequency that they don't really affect what the flight controller is seeing. Yeah, Rabbi, I suggest, I see this Rabbi says that a cop took off his goggles when he was coming back over a lake and he lost his quad. I always suggest having a spotter with you, having somebody with you to kind of ward off people. It's usually the best policy, because, you know, if you're under the goggles, you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing, you're flying, and having somebody there to just kind of run interference, field questions, especially when you've got a lot of people around, it's good. That's another reason why I don't like flying around people, because I don't usually fly with people. I don't usually have somebody with me flying. My buddies are usually, they live an hour away. So I fly alone a lot, and therefore I don't like flying around people. I just don't. Yeah, good. Wife is a spotter. Good on you. Right. Well, guys, it's time. The beer is done. It's going on to 55 minutes now. DVR, I use the goggles, DVR. So, yeah, that's going to be the last question, I think. I'm going to let you guys go and enjoy your evenings or mornings or afternoons or middle of the nights, wherever you are. And hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys next week. Ciao, ciao.